The Galactic Council chamber appeared huge, an architectural wonder of polished obsidian and sparkling crystalline panels. Thousands of extraterrestrial delegates sat in their levitating thrones, their forms a dazzling array of appendages, scales, titan limbs, and luminous eyes. Some species conveyed their thoughts in flashes of light, others via pheromone excretions, while the more humanoid ones simply spoke. Yet today, none of them seemed interested in discussion. At the core of the chamber stood a lone figure, unarmed and clearly human. The diplomat's posture was upright, their expression unreadable. They were outfitted in a formal yet unadorned suit, a strong contrast to the ornate regalia worn by the council members. A quiet stretched as they altered the mural uplink on their wrist, ensuring the translation software caught every syllable with precision. "I stand before you," the diplomat began, their voice amplified by invisible speakers. "Not as a conqueror, not as a beggar, but as an ambassador of peace." Laughter rippled through the chamber. The Supreme Chancellor of the Zealer Dominion, a gigantic reptilian being with 6 golden eyes and a cloak of live silk worms, leaned forward. His forked tongue flickered in amusement. "Peace," the term dripped with disdain. "The primitive species speaks of peace as though it stands on the same footing with the sovereign races." Whispers of agreement followed. The Kel warlord, a monstrous fusion of organic tissue and unyielding steel, rumbled a guttural chuckle. A delegation of the Vexer, transparent entities who floated in confinement spheres, pulsed in amusement. Even the Elder, an ancient species of bioluminescent scholars who infrequently took part in such ridicule, observed with silent skepticism. The diplomat remained impassive. "Humanity does not seek equality by mere recognition," they continued. "We aim for cooperation, success for all. We are offering you a choice." The Chancellor grinned. "A choice?" A holographic projection sparked in the center of the room, depicting Earth's advancements. A squadron of elegant battleships, planetary defense arrays, autonomous battle drones, and energy-based weaponry. The display flickered between military intelligence, industrial expansions, and aid-driven strategic models. The message was plain: humanity was no longer the fledgling race the Council once dismissed. But the Council members scoffed. "You misinterpret your place," the Supreme Chancellor declared. "Your kind was discovered barely 3 centuries ago, wandering through the dark and primitive tin cans. The only reason you have expanded is that we let it. You exist by our mercy." The diplomat demonstrated no noticeable reaction. They reached into their pocket, retrieving a basic metallic sphere the size of a marble. With a flip of their wrist, they activated it. The room darkened for a fraction of a second before returning to normal. Slight confusion flared across the faces of the assembled species. The Chancellor scowled. "A parlor trick." The diplomat's voice stayed calm. "No. A demonstration." Across the room, personal devices flickered. Displays glitched. Neural implants registered temporary static. The Council members stiffened as their security feeds, encrypted with what they had assumed to be unbreakable algorithms, flickered, revealing sensitive information, blueprints of warships, sites of secret armories, strategic weaknesses cataloged with meticulous precision. For the first time, the Council was silent. The diplomat took a modest step forward. "We have been researching you, preparing, learning. You deem us weak because we do not posture, because we do not conquer, because we do not flaunt our power." A pause. "But make no mistake, power is not assessed in arrogance. It is measured in action." The Supreme Chancellor's golden eyes narrowed, his nostrils flaring. He gestured gently to his honor guards, towering, cybernetically augmented warriors stationed at the chamber's perimeter. Each one shifted imperceptibly, hands clenching around round weapons. "Careful, Chancellor," the diplomat said calmly. "I wouldn't advise that." The warning sent a shiver of uneasiness through the gathered delegates. The Chancellor hesitated. He was a seasoned warrior accustomed to intimidation, but something in the diplomat's tone unsettled him. It wasn't a threat. It was a guarantee. The Vexer representative, generally disinterested in politics, drifted closer. "You claim to offer peace," it murmured, its phrases like faraway chimes. And yet you uncovered the power to break our security with a meaningless trinket. This is not peace. This is coercion. Coercion? The diplomat permitted a little exhalation, something that might have been a dry laugh. No. It is a warning. The projection shifted, now displaying what would happen if war erupted. Simulations unfolded in cold, clinical detail. Whole ships were wiped out before they could mobilize. Supply chains were broken. Commerce pathways collapsed. Planets fell, one after another, not through brute force, but by precision and efficiency. The war would be over before it ever began. The Supreme Chancellor's claws curled against his armrest. Enough! The projection faded. The silence that followed was smothering. You overstep! The Chancellor roared. You believe yourselves superior. Your kind is little more than an upstart species that has forgotten its position. The diplomat tilted their head as though contemplating. No, they answered, voice steady. We have simply outgrown the place you appointed us. The elder representative, one among the few not amused by humanity's proposition, inserted at last. You assume that technical prowess assures victory, she said. But war is not simply fought with weapons. It is fought with alliances. The Galactic Council stands united, she continued. We are billions upon billions. A nod of approval passed through the chamber. It was true, the united powers of the Council dwarfed humanity's numbers. No matter how advanced their strategies, how sophisticated their warfare, sheer numbers had a weight of their own. The diplomat did not argue. They simply tapped their wrist uplink. A moment later, the chamber's communication grid flashed. A single transmission overrode all others. A voice spoke, strongly modulated, synthetic, yet unmistakably human. Stand united if you wish, it said. It makes no difference. Across the Council's enormous empire, at that precise moment, warships, defensive systems, and planetary infrastructures activated. We were failing. The attack had begun before the meeting had even started. The diplomat clasped their hands behind their back, watching as reality dawned. You were given an opportunity, they said. You chose extinction. They turned and walked away. Behind them, mayhem erupted, rendering the Council's forces worthless without firing a single damaging round. AI-piloted drones infiltrated planetary networks, overriding emergency response systems. Whole cities were held prisoner, not by brute force, but by the cold, calculated suffocation of every function that permitted them to exist. No power. No communication. No access to planetary shields. The final blow was not physical. It was psychological. Civilian broadcasts were hijacked, demonstrating not destruction but certainty. The image of the Galactic Council's leaders, puzzled and helpless. The once mighty armada halted and unresponsive. The sheer, overwhelming knowledge that resistance was not just futile, it was irrelevant. A voice, calm and familiar, rang through every intercepted communication. It was the diplomat speaking, not simply to military commanders but to the billions who had previously thought humanity to be nothing more than a minor species. This war is not yours to fight, the voice whispered. But your leaders chose it. They chose arrogance over reason. We offer you today what they refused, mercy. The broadcast finished. The stillness that followed was not that of capitulation, but of something far deeper, the withering of confidence. The Galactic Council had positioned itself as eternal, unshakable. Now, in a matter of hours, that illusion had been wiped away. Back in the command center, a final communication was received. The Supreme Chancellor himself, his once booming voice hushed, demanded negotiation. The diplomat did not answer. Instead, they turned away, issuing one final order. Proceed. The Galactic Council's homeworld, a treasure of towering spires and man-made rivers, lay under a cloud of silence. Its skies, once vibrant with the continuous mobility of dignitaries and battleships, were empty. Planetary defense grids, the pride of the Empire, stood motionless. The Council chamber, once a place of contempt and condescension, now harbored only concern. The war was not going as expected, not by any measure. Across the Council's vast domain, entire ships had fallen dormant, stuck in space as their systems failed to follow commands. Planetary governors sent desperate appeals for aid, only to receive static in response. Supply routes, previously considered indestructible, had crumbled in a matter of hours. This was not war in the way the Council had anticipated. It was the slow, methodical undermining of their power, piece by piece, until nothing remained but uncertainty. In the heart of the capital, the Supreme Chancellor paced before his gathered advisors. Gone was his air of confidence, replaced with a wrath born of helplessness. "They refuse to engage," he screamed, his golden eyes flashing. "They do not ruin our planet. They do not take our worlds. They do not even answer our requests for surrender terms." A shaking aide stepped forward. "Chancellor, their strategy is unlike anything we have faced. They do not conquer, they erase control. They leave our armies intact.